Welcome to Christian Conversation. We are here at a different location today. We are down at Lake Waccamaw, North Carolina, which is about 15 miles from our studio. We're down at my mother's lake house with David and Julie Austin and my lovely wife Donna. And we are here just to relax and hang out and welcome you guys to beautiful Lake Waccamaw, North Carolina.
Absolutely.
What do you think?
Well, it is beautiful.
Absolutely beautiful. We're looking out here across the lake that's just shining from the sunlight.
Yep.
Beautiful.
We love the just everything about it, the cypress trees and the Spanish moss and
Full moon, sunset, the same day.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just
And even got to hear the chimes from the church.
That's exactly right. You're sitting here in a nice, quaint place where you can really think and hear.
great. We're glad to have you guys with us, and hopefully our guests will tonight be able to glean from what's been going on in your life and how you have been enriching yourself over the last 8 weeks with what we've labeled a sabbatical. Maybe a survival of the fittest might be a better word.
That's good. That's a good.
It definitely requires discipline.
Yeah, I know for you guys, it's been an exciting 8 weeks.
It has.
You look a little different to me,
Yeah.
Donna, than you did when we were down in Arkansas.
Much more rested. Yeah.
Because we are.
Got a new shirt.
Vibrant.
Yeah.
Been shopping and been hanging out and doing all
Yeah.
the things that you do. But
That's right.
we just want to somehow take what you guys have learned and share it with other people who may be struggling with the question of how can I possibly take a break.
Right.
So if you could just share with us about maybe where you felt like you were prior to coming or taking an 8-week sabbatical.
Sure. So there were a few things that hindered me from taking a break, and I'll talk about those in just a few moments. But how did we feel? We felt overwhelmed, not adequate. We felt like we were chomping at the bit, constantly trying to find the energy, the right things to do, and it seemed as though everything that we did was a reflection of what we could do. We moved away from leaning upon hearing from the Lord as much, and it came to a point where I felt like what I was doing was coming from my own energy, and I didn't feel like I could hear what the Lord was speaking to me as much because I was exhausted. And I got to a point where I felt I was questioning my passion, and to a point where I felt like, am I doing everything that I'm supposed to do? Well, absolutely. I was doing everything that I could do personally, but I wasn't allowing God to do what He needed to do. And so I was burning the candle at both ends. Julie, of course, she was doing the same, burning the candle at both ends. And we needed a break. We had never taken a break, 30 years of ministry. I mean, I say never taken a break. We went on vacations.
Never intentionally just paused and says, okay, God, we're taking this mantle off and just going to rest and not have that servant ministry mantle
Yeah. And
in
why?
place.
And why is that? I thought about this a lot. Why would we not take a break? And there was a significant or an extended break, more than just a couple weeks. And I think there was a stigma that comes from that.
Sure.
It's good.
That people, I can grit it out. I'm strong and ego, and that I don't need that. Where in reality, we actually were unhealthy.
I think to be at our best, we've got to intentionally choose to rest.
Well, part of what we believe that God called us to do at R3, especially Donna and I was, I had the same challenges that you had when I was in business. This can't function without me.
Right.
I am the man. If I don't show up, it doesn't get done.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not my passion, it's not right.
Right.
And what I learned when I took a 150-day break from life was that the world went on.
Mm-hmm.
The lights came on. The sun came up.
Right.
People went to work. People went to the grocery store. Things continued to happen. And it was a shock to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you sit in the role that I sat in, or you sit in as senior pastor, and when we served as senior pastors, it was, we cleaned, we mowed the grass, we did this, we did that. Now y'all don't do that, but those thought processes lead you into a place of failure.
And then as pastors too, you have this insecurity part of your brain up there that if I leave the pulpit for 6, 7, 8 weeks, they're going to find somebody to replace me. I won't even have a place. You have those insecure thoughts that come in that, pastors have that because, the church might be fine, but, they might find somebody in the meantime they like
Sure.
better than me. And those insecure thoughts start coming in too.
Yeah.
As pastors.
Absolutely.
Well, for us, we realize that you guys are not unique. You're actually very, very average and normal. And what we find is that most pastors would love to be able to take a week.
Right.
Now, you have a very unique situation where you have an incredible staff.
We do.
You have a great size church that can afford some luxuries that other people can't afford.
Right.
You have people in place or resources in place to bring in people to fill your pulpit. But our goal is somehow when you take these sabbaticals is to get you to realize that the church is fine, just forget it.
Right.
Right.
Just disconnect and unplug, and because you can take 8 weeks sabbatical and come back unhealthy.
Right.
Yeah.
You can waste 8 weeks of your time and your church's time by not taking this time to grow personally now. So I have a couple of specific questions. You said that you felt like you were exhausted. Do you feel relaxed now and rested?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's one of those things.
I mean, it's a little obvious to me that you're just kind of like, hey,
No.
lay back, turn the radio down a little bit.
Well, we were intentional about the time. We said from the beginning, even before we were preparing for the sabbatical. I mean, we took several weeks to plan things out, to get with our staff, to have a plan in place, to where we didn't have to worry or concern ourselves with things. We had staff in place that people could go to. It was announced and communicated to our church family. And so everybody knew this is the order of things, and if there is a concern or a question, these are the people that you go to.
I hope I wasn't the one that broke the news to your church.
No.
When I was down there, I think I said, they're leaving and they'll be gone.
And everybody
said...
So we were specific about, it's not about the time. It's about what you do with the time. That's important.
And do you agree that is how you need to go back to your responsibilities? It's not what you do,
It's not what you do.
Absolutely.
but it's how you do what you do.
That's exactly
Very
right.
true.
It's
And,
not about how much time you put. It's about what you do with that time.
Well, another question that I would ask, and Julie, this is sort of directed at you and Donna, is, you guys sort of have a shadowed position where you're not out front a lot. You know, in your case, you've kind of gotten off the drums and you're
Right.
sort of in the congregation and you're taking a position of sitting and not as participatory as you were.
Right.
How does that feel to you, having been, I mean, from a very young age, I think you've been in a serving place. You've always been on the stage. You've always
Right.
traveled and sang and did music and all. How does that feel to you? And then how has that affected this sabbatical for you?
So I think being in ministry, there's no question about it. You know, you want to always think, oh, well, we're just like everybody else. But in reality, we're not. When you're in a role of any form of position, whether it's a trash collector, whether it's a CEO, you're still in a position. And when you're functioning in that role, you have these filters and layers that are upon your life because of the requirements and responsibility. And so whoever you're serving, there's that role that you're fulfilling. And for me as a pastor's wife, and I think for David as well, through the last 30 years, you get into this place to where you kind of, it's not that you lose your identity, but you are treated as more the role rather than as a person. And I think it's really important to know that you are just a normal person and that you can connect and relate with people without all of the layers, because so many people will not allow you just to be that person. Not that
Based upon
based upon your role, that's the way it's supposed to be.
And a lot of people look at the pastor's wife as just that, the pastor's
The
wife.
pastor's wife.
But a lot of times, the pastor's wife has got God-ordained calling on her.
Oh yeah,
And
absolutely.
she is equal in that ministry because it's her support and her sometimes pushing him, but also she has her own giftings
Right.
that is used in this ministry. That with if y'all were cut in half and
Right.
you were over here and he was over here, his ministry would not be as good
Right.
because you're
We-
the spark plug.
The spark plug. We learned that.
We
You
learned
know,
that this weekend.
And we truly, we believe, and we've seen this firsthand from many years of ministry, that probably the hardest position in the church, the most difficult position in the church is the pastor's wife. Because she's trying to juggle so many different things.
There's so many intangibles involved
Yeah.
in a pastor's wife role. It really is.
Absolutely.
You know, one of the things I learned in real estate when I was in business was the most expensive piece of property is at the intersection. But the greatest bargain is the piece beside the intersection. So the four corners at the intersection is where everybody's store wants to be.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just use a number of $200,000 for a cost on a corner.
Mm-hmm.
But one piece over may be $70,000.
Right.
Yeah.
And you get all the same things
Right.
that you got, plus you get easier access into and out of.
Mm-hmm.
So what I learned, and somebody taught me this, was don't always look at the man,
Right.
Right.
the position,
Right.
without looking at the whole intersection.
That's good.
And, you know, in your role, I don't think people really, I mean, I know this because I lived in this with Donna. I don't think people realize how much pressure you're under
Yeah.
because of the pressure he's under.
Right.
Because in many times, you're the only place he has to go to with specific stuff.
Right. Well,
And-
and I pastor him.
And, well, no, you do. And then the other thing
It's
is,
true.
is when someone comes to him in total confidence.
Right.
And then he says, I just need to talk to my wife about this, but how much can I share
Mm-hmm.
and not breach my
Sure.
commitment to confidentiality? So it's almost like one of the mistakes I made, I think I'm trying to get to, one of the mistakes I made is when people wanted to talk to me,
Mm-hmm.
I should have had them talking to us.
Yeah.
And if they're not comfortable talking to us,
Yeah.
there's a deeper issue.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I know in your case, you know, that's just something that may help y'all.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've learned is that there are much greater things for you to do than just be the pastor's wife. You may be a strong force in his ministry, And it helps people when they're talking to two of you versus one of you, because it guards him, it protects him. So let me ask you guys a couple of questions that I think I talked about this a little bit earlier in another conversation with you guys about how we met, and then you and I had a conversation this morning about is this guy the real deal? Or I don't really know this guy. I know of him, and we run across that all the time with people that we run into. It's like, how honest is David being with me?
Yeah.
And am I forming my plan of a plan of help, or to help him based on what he's told me versus what I know?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And David, what we found in our relationship with you is you're not one of those guys that it's hard to figure out.
Right.
You don't mask. You don't. You're just kind of. I mean, when you're down, everybody knows it. When you're up, everybody knows it.
It's true.
You don't have a salesman's face at all.
I don't.
But so you're the easy one. The hard one is a guy like me, who can say one thing and be in another situation. How are you doing? I'm fine. Well, not really.
Yeah.
But how has our relationship, and when I say our relationship, is R3, because when we first met, we met through a situation where we were both trying to better ourselves through Bishop Miller.
Yeah.
And there was some connection. I think you realize that now, maybe more than before, but there was some connection that had lasting value. And I'd just like to ask you to share with Donna and I, as maybe a point of encouragement, and to help other people who might see this, is what value does R3 bring to you today over the last 6 to 8 weeks, and how do you view us moving forward as a tool in your toolbox?
So, I believe that God places people in your life for different seasons, but also for a different purpose. And I think every person that is placed in your life, you should see some type of value. Sometimes we would see people not as a friend, but maybe as a foe. But there's purpose there. I believe that God placed R3 Ministries, Miles, you and Donna, in our life for a specific purpose at the right time. Julie and I have said this on multiple occasions in our discussion, and just talking together, that we felt like God was going to do something or in our life, and you guys, R3 Ministries, could pour into us what we needed.
Yeah.
We said that from the beginning, and we felt a kindred spirit. But there are specific things that we have learned with our time here. So one of the things that I will tell you is that there was a constant encouragement coming from you in your text message before we ever came here, in your text messages, in our conversations, where I was very transparent and shared some struggles that I have faced in my life, and some of the lies of the enemy that the devil would try to get me to believe. And I was open and transparent and honest with you about those.
Why do you think you were comfortable doing that?
I felt just like what I mentioned when Julie and I were discussing things. We felt a kindred spirit. We felt like God had brought you into our lives for a purpose and a reason. And knowing and hearing your testimony and what you had been through helped me to feel and believe
That you understood.
that you could understand
Yeah.
where I was. You've been a minister. You have that in your history. You've struggled. You're not perfect. And I think all of those things is exactly where every minister needs to understand that they struggle. They're not perfect. They don't do everything right. They don't have all the answers. And sometimes it's hard to admit that we don't hear from God. There are seasons when it feels like that we're talking to a brass ceiling and it's not going anywhere. And so in those moments, God places people in your life, and in this case, God placed you guys in our lives. And God will use a vessel to pour into you. And that's what I feel R3 has brought to us.
I think R3, to me, I feel like is a huge support system to the pastors or any ministry leader.
That's
I think
right.
it's a huge support system, no matter what that support is. Sometimes it may be some form of therapy. Sometimes it may be all types of
That's
different
right.
enrichment. Sometimes it's just a good old pat on the back of saying, hey, I believe in you. Because, sometimes you just need to know that you have people around you and you're not just alone, like a Lone Ranger out there
Right.
saving the world. We have Christ and our souls need community.
Yeah, that's right.
And we're designed for that. And something recently that David and I, over our sabbatical, I would like to share this because I truly think it will help a lot of people. We learned something that spoke into our lives that, David, he prayed, God, strengthen my soul.
Strengthen those who
Strengthen my soul. But here's the thing, we can turn that around and we can say, God, strengthen the soul of people strengthen the souls of people that strengthen my soul.
That's right.
Because we have people in our worlds. We have our family, we have our friends. But in ministry and as a leader, you need a whole lot more strength than that, just your family and friends. You need to intentionally create a network of people that know where you are as a leader and where you can be vulnerable with.
And that you pray for so that they can strengthen you.
Because God will speak, like David and I, when we pray that over you guys, we're saying, God, empower them to give them the strength to know how to minister to us.
Right. Because that's what you do. That is your gifting, that's your ministry, that's your calling.
Well, one of the things that I just, and for me, it takes intentionality, where I just make sure that I don't forget the things that I think matter the most.
Yeah.
Sunday morning or Saturday night, I sent out 11 messages to pastors, just encouraging them.
Yeah. That's huge.
Anointing prayer, somebody's praying for you, you're not alone. And if you read some of the responses I got, it would alarm you that somebody will say, I just felt like nobody's been praying for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for us, the gifting that God has given us, that we cherish is that when we hear a statement like that, we automatically see that as an open door to pursue. And there are times when, and Donna can testify to this, that we feel like that we push our way into people. But people who are hurting are not always open.
They naturally withdraw.
Yeah, hurt.
As a child, my dad told me, if you ever see a dog get hit by a car, if you stop to help that dog, he thinks you're what hurt him.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you don't help the dog.
Yeah.
It means that you're careful how you approach him.
That's
That's
right.
good.
And so one of the things that God has just really helped me to see is that if I look at people and I just look at them the way they are and the way I see them, not necessarily how you tell me you're doing.
Right.
Because there's been times when I've asked you how you're doing. I'm good. And then 10 minutes later we're talking about something very serious. And you're really not doing good.
Right.
And had I just said, okay, he's doing good, I'm going on to
Awesome,
John
bye.
or Charles or somebody
That's right.
else, but I just feel like that our ministry is so important that if people can hear what's happened in your life and the value that you saw in what we do, people are hungry for that. People long for that. You know, the fact that you don't have many friends. I know you think you got a lot of friends, but you know, the fact that you
Most
got
pastors and pastors' wives really do
I
not.
have to go back and say I don't. Trust me on that.
well, but if you got 1,800
if you
friends,
have
if you got 1,800 friends on Facebook, don't fool yourself.
Yeah.
right, no, that's just social media.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those
So-
people don't. Most of those people just want to know what's going on in your life.
Well, one of
Correct.
my
One or
deepest
two.
concerns in R3, and I've said this over to him several times, is how can we get ministers, church leaders, you know, people that we are trying to reach to be transparent with us? How can we know if they're telling us the truth? And I know a certain part of that, and Miles has this to a huge degree, is the discernment that God puts in his heart of somebody, you need to reach out to this person.
Yeah.
Now, I don't have that, but he has that. God just tells him, you need to zone in on this person or this person or this person. He tries to tell me, you need to call so-and-so. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you know, because, you know, he has that, I don't. But, you know, I want people out there to understand
Sure,
this is a God
sure.
calling.
Right,
And, you know, we don't have it in ourselves,
right.
but God puts it in our spirits.
And then anointing.
And it's like when we went out to Arkansas and met y'all, and I'm an introvert. Now, once I get to know somebody, you know,
You
I
cook
can
them
talk.
brownies, then.
I cook them brownies. When we got out to Arkansas, met you for the very first time. And we were talking about it yesterday, I
Yeah.
believe. It's like
It's like
God
all
put
this
in our
anointing.
spirit, like we're old cousins that got together, hadn't seen each other in years and years. But it's like that
Kindred
God's
just renewed.
family, that family of affection
Yeah.
was there.
Family.
And it's like
Yeah.
we've known each other forever, but we had just met.
Uh-huh.
But we both have Christ in us,
Right.
and we've grown
We are
up
part
with
of this
Christ,
thing.
and so we are familiar.
Yeah.
And it was odd for me, but a wonderful odd.
Yeah.
You know, that I really experienced for the first time in a long time.
Sure.
Do you think, going back to your sabbatical for a second, one of the things I wanted to ask you a while ago, and I forgot it. In this process, do you think you've learned how important it is for you to take back and let this spirit of okayness to filter through your staff?
So absolutely. You know, one of the things that I had to come to grips with and understand as a minister is that, number one, I needed it for myself. But, you know, in order for a church to be healthy, the pastor has to be healthy. So if the pastor is unhealthy, and that's unhealthy relationships, unhealthy spiritually, unhealthy in our attitude, unhealthy in work environments. I mean, if we are unhealthy, then our church is not going to be healthy.
Right.
And so we understand that now. And so one of the things I had to come into grips with is I've got to empower my staff more. And I've always seen myself as an empowering leader.
Art.
And I turn loose of things. I have no problem delegating and empowering. I don't try to control. But the Lord helped me to see, okay, in order for this sabbatical to work, you have got to turn loose of more. So during this time, I've seen our staff rise to the occasion, rise to the surface.
Their giftings have elevated.
Yeah, and I thought I knew all of them, but it has really exploded. And so that's helped me to see that. The second thing that I noticed, not just in our staff, is also in our congregation. And I would dare say this to most pastors, that they need to understand that your congregation needs to have you gone.
I think that's really good.
You need to take a break. You need to be away. More people need to come in so that your congregation go, man, I really miss my pastor. I wish my pastor was back.
Right.
You
And then
know?
the flip side of that is, wow, I really received from this guest speaker because of the diversity,
That's
the
exactly
difference
right.
from my pastor. I have a different representation of a message.
So we had both of those things happen. We had people, in fact, it was a lot of the same people would say, Pastor, we can't wait till you're back. And then also, Pastor, thank you for bringing these speakers in because
we've enjoyed it.
we've seen a different perspective of things.
Yes.
So not only have we grown, our staff has grown, and our people have grown.
Right. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us and allowing us to be a part of this process you've been going through. And not only have you become better, but you've helped us to become better.
Good evening, folks. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you, David and Julie Austin, for letting us chronicle this story and sort of pick your brain. And I appreciate you guys being open and honest with us about where you were, about what you're doing, and about what you needed. It just speaks to the strength of character that you guys have to come to your staff members, to walk into your church and say, listen, we need some help here. We need some time. We need to recharge. We need to re-energize. We need to plug the batteries in, reconnect, get some clarity in our vision. And it just speaks to the integrity of your personal dedication to be able to do that. And guys, that's what R3 Ministries is here for. If you're a pastor out there today, if you're clergy, if you're a lay minister, if you are a volunteer minister in any capacity, whether that's, worship leading or children's ministry or youth pastoring, or you lead a men's group ministry, or any other type of ministry, women's ministries, and everything else that the church runs nowadays to try to serve their communities. If you're plugged into a ministry group and you're feeling that tug of, I really don't have a lot to pour out right now, maybe you need to pull out for a few weeks and plug into some teaching and some other things that will help you energize and reconnect. And maybe reach out to R3 Ministries and let us talk with you and say, you know what? Maybe you do need a break. Maybe you don't need a break. You're just in the wrong place. We'd love to help you, come alongside you, lift you up, pray with you, find out exactly the things that you're needing, and see you be successful. Guys, that's what we're here for. Thank you again, David and Julie. Thank you, folks, for watching. If this speaks to you in any capacity, reach out to R3 Ministries and let us reach back and see if our paths are crossing for a reason. There's many ways that you can get up with us: our website, Facebook, YouTube. You can give us a call. You can give us a text. All of our information is there on the website, and that's r3ministriesinc.com. Thank you so much tonight, guys. We're going to pray for you. We always want to end with some prayer. So just lift your hands. If you have needs right now, just go ahead and lift them to the Lord. Father God, right now as we close out, we just want to thank you for being present every day in our lives, God. Thank you for people who are watching this. Thank you for people who need to hear this story of we can do this. We can do this together. God is here. I'm not alone. There's more than enough of God to go around. So we just lift up folks all around the country, all around the world tonight. And we say, God, we need you and we need more of you. So we lift up all these needs that people are lifting to you right now, and we come together. We come alongside all these needs. We lift them up. Father, if it's healing, if it's financial, if it's a touch in the body, whatever it is, God, we just lift it up to you, and we have nothing but faith to say, you're going to meet those needs, whatever they are. All over the place right now, you're meeting needs, and we stand in faith together, thanking you for being amazing. God, we just bless you. We just bless your heart right now. Thank you so much. Amen. Amen. Folks, we'll see you next week. As always, Tuesday at 8 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube. And there's some new things coming. If you're just catching up with those, we're glad to have you on board. Thank you so much.